You're tuned in to the hottest sports analysis of the week with your hosts Ron Dolbeck and Chris Roberts. And now, here's the first round.
It's a sad Sunday in the first round. Unfortunately, we've lost one of NBA's greatest players of all time, Kobe Bryant, former Los Angeles Laker. I'm sure many of you heard, passed away today, tragically, in a helicopter accident just northwest of Los Angeles near Calabasas with his 13-year-old daughter. And we could talk about all the accolades and the statistics and the MVPs and the championships that he won. But I think it's more important sometimes to focus in on the fact that he was a human being and not just limit the greatness of his life and the highlights of his life to what he did on the NBA basketball court. There's other things going on in the world of sports, and we're going to talk about those a little bit. But pretty much today we're going to talk about the life and achievements of Kobe Bryant, even though everyone knows I'm a huge Celtics, Red Sox, Patriots, and Bruins fan. I love all things Boston. And having said that, I just inherently have to hate the Lakers. You put all of those healthy sports rivalries aside that bring spice into sports when something like this happens. So I've got my purple and yellow on today. We've got purple and yellow colors here in the studio. As always, I'm joined here in the St. Jude studio by my partner, Chris Roberts. And Chris, what were you feeling when you heard this today? I know it's shock, and that's an easy knee-jerk kind of reaction to say it's shocking when someone iconic passes quickly, passes so young, passes unexpectedly. But what were the first thoughts that were going through your mind, man?
Yeah, the first thoughts that was going through my mind was it really true? I mean, a lot of, especially nowadays, we hear things about people passing, and you really once you get into it and you go and you research, you find out it's like an internet hoax. So I was sitting here thinking, hoping it was an internet hoax, but as soon as it started to come across on my phone, it hit from CNN to ESPN, Bleacher Report, and it's just like once you heard this. It was confirmed. It was just like, oh my gosh, like what just really happened?
Yeah.
So it was more of shock. It was more of I was in awe, and I just couldn't believe it.
It's hard to believe sometimes when you have news like this that you don't expect. And stuff happens all the time. There's earthquakes around the world and airplane crashes and freak things happen. Your neighbor, wins the lottery or something along those lines. But because sports draws us in and we have a sense of being a family with that team that we follow, then we feel closely connected. Like those star players are a part of our lives. And in a sense, they are. That's what sports does. We're not connected genealogically to these people, and they're not a physical part of our family. But that's a part of what makes sports so awesome, is that we do feel like these people are a part of our lives, a real, tangible, realistic part on some levels to our lives. We're not obviously a part of their lives, except for in a general sense, we're a part of the fandom and the crowd. But it's just a sad thing that his daughter and him passed. I don't know. I can't imagine what his wife and his other 3 daughters are going through. It's just a hard situation. And you just pray for strength for the family and courage and hope and understand that life will go on at some point, but it's just devastating at this point.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, just, we a lot of times we as people, we take life for granted, not thinking that, thinking that, I mean, we're going to continue to life and, we're going to live until we're old, until we're 80 or 90 years old. But, I mean, Kobe was only 41. He had, his daughter was on the plane when he was only 13 years old. And so, as a father myself and just looking at that, it just kind of put things into perspective for me as being a father, especially a father of a daughter, and you have that close relationship.
Yeah, I have 3 children myself, and I would be catatonic if any of my children passed away. It would just be a difficult situation. It's a difficult day. There's millions of people that were fans of Kobe Bryant. They feel that loss, and we'll talk about it today. There are other things going on in the world of sports that we're going to cover, but there's not going to be a lot of fanfare and heated discussions that you would normally become accustomed to here in the first round. But we do want to cover some stuff. In other NBA news, LeBron James last night passes Kobe Bryant, ironically, on the all-time scoring list to go to number 3 with 33,645 points. He had 29 points in a 108-91 loss at Philadelphia. The classy thing about it is, as soon as he passed him, Kobe Bryant was on his social media praising LeBron James for his career achievement in a very selfless act. LeBron James is now number 3 in the all-time scoring list, NBA-wise. Zion had his debut against San Antonio Wednesday, 22 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists. He goes 8 for 11, including 4 for 4 from 3 points. 7 3-point line, 17 consecutive points in the span of 3 minutes and 29 seconds. I think the sky is the limit for this young man, and I think he's got a bright future ahead of him. That night was just electric. It reminded me of when the Saints came back and played in the Superdome after Katrina, and it was a great night for New Orleans basketball. Kawhi Leonard, after 502 NBA games, records his first triple-double against the Heat the other night, Friday. 33 points, 10 rebounds, 10 assists. Good job to him. Drew Brees comes out in local newspapers of New Orleans stating that within the next month, he's going to decide whether to step away from the NFL or come back for another season. In college football news, UF picks up 5-star wide receiver from Penn State, Justin Shorter. I think that's a big get for them because they lost basically their whole wide receiver crew after this season, and they're on the right direction towards contending, at least, for the SEC East. Having a great season, finishing up in the top 10. Other SEC news, LSU signs Ed Orgeron, head coach, to a 6-year contract, $42 million, rewarding him for the national championship that they won 2 weeks ago against Clemson. I think that that's a great move. Ed Orgeron has been around for quite a long time, and he's a stand-up guy, and he does things the right way, and he gets rewarded for it. Men's basketball, UK gets a big win on the road at Texas Tech, 76-74 yesterday. Florida State, number 5 in the country, squeaks out a 1-point win, 85-84 at home against Notre Dame. And number 1 Baylor goes on the road to Florida, 17-1, and they get the victory in Gainesville against the Gators, 72-61. Those are the things that are going on in the world of sports, but obviously it's not your average first round. If you've been tuning in, we appreciate all of our new subscribers, and normally we're not this subdued, Chris. It's just kind of shocking. I mean, I wasn't even a huge Kobe Bryant fan, but I can appreciate the way that he turned his life around at many points,
right.
The things that he did off the basketball court. The importance that he put on the second half of his life about being a family man and helping out with charities. And I think it does say volumes that tragically when he goes down in a helicopter accident, it's with his daughter going to a basketball game that he wanted to help coach. And he was very involved in her life. And like I said, I tweeted out earlier, I think it's just too easy to honor and memorialize Kobe Bryant on a day like today by only talking about the statistics and the on-court achievements that he had in the NBA.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, Kobe won an Oscar for writing a book. I mean, he does so many other things off the court. I mean, his business acumen is impeccable when it comes to athletes actually, working with other companies and actually building their brand the right way with some of these companies. Nike, you have Nike, you have the Turkish Airlines. I mean, you have a lot of things that Kobe Bryant has. He has branched out to build on his legacy outside of basketball.
And also, as you watch ESPN, CNN, all the outlets that are talking about this story today, one of the main themes that you see interwoven into all these stories that people that were closely connected to Kobe Bryant are talking about is his support of women in sports and the WNBA, and putting that out on his social media and trying to create a greater platform for females going after their goals in basketball as well.
Yeah, I mean, and then when it comes down to Kobe Bryant, the fact that he was actually able to sit down man to man and talk to Shaquille O'Neal, when they had their tiff, but for them to be able to come back and squash their beef, shake hands and actually, rebuild that bridge of that relationship of brotherhood with each other. I mean, just looking at Shaq's tweet today, finding out about the passing of Kobe Bryant. He not only did he say that he lost his brother, but he said he lost his niece. So that just goes to show you that, they were able to mend those fences and actually, get back together and become, not only friends, but brothers again.
Yeah, I was watching ESPN, and they had Jay Williams on, who only played one season in the NBA and was a star before that at Duke. And he was talking about his interactions with Kobe Bryant. And obviously, he was super choked up. As the closer you are to somebody, the more emotionally you're going to be affected when you hear devastating news like this. But the message that he had, I thought, was one of inspiration and hopefulness, because he said, look, if you've got beef, even going to the point where he actually cursed on ESPN, but it wasn't out of a bad place. It was out of a place that he was welling up with emotion and felt so strongly about what the message that he was going to give. He said, if you've got beef with people, crush it. It's days like today that remind you of what really is important. And sometimes sad things like this have to happen to bring the focus of perspective about what life's really about. And, he did have a lot of awesome achievements on the basketball court, and Chris and I are going to talk about those in a minute, but just celebrating the life that you have today and not letting petty small things get you hung up in life. It's too easy with life by itself, let alone other people trying to bring you down. Sometimes the combination of that can be detrimental, and a day like today, and especially for those that are in Kobe Bryant's family and were close to him, this is an incredible loss that you can't bring back. You can't go for that walk. You can't go to those movies again. You can't look up in the stands and see dad there cheering you on anymore, because that chapter of life has been closed now. And we who are still here, I think it's important to grab those moments. And maybe it's an alarm for some people today on such a sad event to mend some fences and take the life that we still have here and make it even better. I do want to talk about some of the statistics that Kobe Bryant achieved while playing basketball. 2008 NBA MVP, 5-time champion, 2-time gold medal winner, won the slam dunk contest as a rookie in the NBA, youngest NBA player ever to play in an all-star game, finals MVP in 2010 and 2009, and also NBA All-Defensive Player 2009, 10, and 11. And like Chris and I have talked about, also the father of 4 beautiful daughters. So what moments stand out to you, Chris, looking back on his basketball career? What would be the top highlights when you look at it and go, I'm going to remember this one? So I've got those memories when it comes to Boston sports or Larry Bird stealing the pass in the Eastern Conference Finals against the Pistons. I've got several moments like that. Not as many with Kobe Bryant, but you're a huge basketball fan, and there's got to be certain moments that he had in his career that stand out and shine brighter than other ones.
Well, I mean, what I remember most about Kobe, it's not even, I can't really break down really a game. It's just his overall ability. I mean, once he got to the point where he became the Mamba, where it didn't matter who was there, his competitive spirit, it just took over. I mean, Kobe, it didn't matter who was in the paint. Kobe was going to dunk on you. Kobe was going to hit that patent fadeaway jumper. But really the moment that's really stood out the most to me was that 2009 championship series where he was actually playing against Boston, where he actually came in and he kind of took over that series once Kendrick Perkins went out. He just took over that series. Him and Pau Gasol, and the fact that they were able to win and kind of dominate that series due to that injury. I mean, it was one of the greatest achievements I've seen with him without Shaq.
Yeah, that series against Boston was a backbreaker, and then there was the one before that where Boston actually won the NBA title, which was fulfilling as a Celtic fan. Another theme that you and I have heard a lot today since this story came out is that killer instinct that Kobe Bryant had to just be the best. And that was another story that Jay Williams talked about the first time that they played together. And he got to the arena 3 or 4 hours before the game, and Kobe Bryant was already working on jump shots and free throws and running drills, so much so that he was already drenched in sweat 2 or 3 hours before the game. And Jay Williams looked at him and said, we got a game tonight. Why are you going so hard? And Kobe Bryant, according to Jay Williams, said, because I still want to be better than guys like you. So he realized that even as his career was progressing, just as he came up and wanted to take the place of the great players that were ahead of him, there was a target on his back from the new, younger players in the league that wanted to come in and take his place.
Yeah, and one of the things that I really loved about Kobe is the evolution of his game. Once players get old in the tooth, I mean, you're starting to see it a little bit now with LeBron wanting to shoot jumpers. But one of the main things that he did was he went to one of the greatest basketball players of all time when it came down to footwork. When Kobe decided to change his game, he went to Hakeem the Dream to work on his post game, to work on his footwork, to work on get that patent fadeaway jumper, to get that dream shake, to add another dimension to his game. And, I mean, that in itself prolonged Kobe's game, for another 5 years.
Yeah, the theme that I kept hearing is just being committed to greatness. And, that we have an episode that we did about 2 months ago where I talked about being committed to greatness and appreciating greatness. And this really shines the light on that, because as much as I don't like the Lakers, because I'm a Celtic fan, and I don't cheer for any of the Laker players when they're playing on the court, you still have to be mature enough to be able to look at the work ethic of a guy like Kobe Bryant, who drove himself to be the best. He found a niche in life in basketball and wanted to make himself the best at it. And I think that he reached a point in life where he said, I want to be the best dad that I can be, and I want to be the best husband that I can be, and then branching off into other creative outlets after his NBA sun had gone down. And even when the shadows were still there in the last couple of years with the Lakers, he was already looking ahead and thinking, okay, so what am I going to be great at now? What do I want to throw myself into now? What's next? And it wasn't what's next, like just what's the next step. It's what's the next step that I'm going to overachieve, that I'm going to be incredible at, that I'm going to throw all my passion into, that I want to be an example to my daughters for. And he ends up winning an Academy Award. I think that's a great lesson for all of us, whether we're Laker fans or Kobe fans or not, is just to throw ourselves into the mindset of being great at whatever we put our hands to.
Yeah, I mean, once Kobe retired, people thought he was still going to stick around, the Laker organization and, be that guy that's kind of like Magic Johnson, that's kind of in the organization. I mean, Kobe showed that, after basketball, he had more things in store that he wanted to branch out to. And, you'll see him at basketball games, but you'll see him with his daughter. And if you ever notice Kobe Bryant with his daughter, they were always talking and they were always looking over, and he was pointing out to her, certain things about why the shooting guard is doing this, or why the point guard is, setting the screen. So it's like certain things that, that building that relationship that you saw outside of basketball that showed that other side of Kobe.
Yeah, it's just a sad day when you lose somebody so young, 41 years old. Kobe Bryant passes away in a helicopter crash in Calabasas, California. And we just want to send prayers, promised prayers, not just saying that, of strength and comfort to his family. That music means that It's time to thank our support staff on a very short first round today. Our man on the board, Rambumo Mancini. My co-host, Chris Roberts. We will be back here with an absolutely full, jam-packed show Wednesday at 7 o'clock, talking about everything going on in the world of sports, talking about the Super Bowl, picks, all the different bets that are out there. Chris and I's opinion on how the game's going to break down. Thank you to all of our new subscribers. We will be back here Wednesday. Check us out then. Until then, everybody, take care of yourselves.